Yo, what's going on, everybody? Great to be back. And guess what? Stargirl episode 1 is out. This is a Stargirl channel for the UK. America's episodes are slightly further than ours. Last year we had to wait months and months and months before we actually got Stargirl episodes. The good news now is that Amazon Prime has secured a deal and it's now going to be on the series a day after it premieres in the US streaming service. So that's really good news as well. Another part of the good news I've got to give you guys, and we've talked about this in previous videos, is we talked about the quality of the show, didn't we? And we said because it was on the DC universe and HBO was backing it, it had a tremendous budget which they worked with. And now it's gone to CW. Everybody kind of said, what are we going to do, man? It's like the CW. We know how DC CW series are very low-key, very budget-orientated. But listen, the good news is that there's been a deal that has allowed the series to be co-financed by the HBO Max. Remember, HBO Max are big ballers. They're doing all the massive shows like Peacemaker, Gotham, and they've spent huge tens of millions on Game of Thrones and other series like Raised by Wolves. So we know we're in good hands as well. So the good news is, guys, is that the deal's been done between CW and HBO, and that means that the quality of the show is going to continue. Remember, it's shot in Atlanta, which is where they shot Black Lightning, so it's not in Vancouver with the other CW series. And I just love that because it means that we're going to continue with the massive amount of flavor that we got from season 1. Want some more good news? Yep, it's already been renewed for season 3. So guys, good times to be a fan of Stargirl. It's one of my favorite shows last year. And I want to say the opening of Stargirl was really, really creepy. We join 7 months after the ISA defeat with Courtney and the JSA patrol looking for supervillains. But it doesn't go very well, and you can see that they fail to find anything, and they're questioning what they should be doing, because remember, these guys have got lives to live. These are very young kids, and they're looking at college, and they're looking at high school, and all these different things in their lives, and with no danger to be around, they just want to get on with their lives. And I think with Courtney, she needs this so much. She's grabbing onto it because it's all about legacy. It's all about family. She's trying to really push this narrative, and all of her friends around there saying, nah, not having it. We even get Pat. Pat plans a camping trip, but Courtney is assigned to summer school because she's starting to fall behind with her grades. So that's another good thing that's kind of really, we're trying to keep that tempo here. You know, what's the mix? What's the payoff for being a hero? The payoff is that you're not doing enough schoolwork, so therefore you're falling behind in your schooling. So we kind of, I hope that's a narrative that they push moving forward. We do see Harold Sherman, and we also see other class members. We see an unintentional scrap with Artemis. Now, if you look at it, the way they shot it was very convincing that Artemis was actually coming for Courtney, and then the way they played it off was that she was sort of looking at one of the other hockey teammates. Because it looks like she's attacking Courtney, Courtney puts a move on her, puts a judo move on her, and just busts her up. And we know Artemis is a badass fighter as well. But she gets in trouble for that. You're failing at school, your results are low, you're getting into trouble. There's themes of legacy and family which are key aspects of this season's storyline, and it applies to the villains as well. It applies to the Injustice Society of America, because remember, those kids go to school as well. Those kids also have family members. But the children of the Injustice are about to acquire a new dark inheritance with Sydney Shiv Berman. She's plotting to form her own supervillain team to counter Courtney Whitmore's friends and what they're doing. But I think the key aspect of this episode, and let's talk about it now, is Eclipso. Now, Eclipso was huge in this episode. Why? Because it really paints a picture of what Cindy's doing. Cindy is being pushed by the energy and the spirit of Eclipso to form a new team. But most importantly, that creepy opening scene of Stargirl where we see a horrific induction of Eclipso. He sorts to punish the wicked, as it's still allowed to slay those that has broken the 10 Commandments. The history from the comics, it acts through a young boy named Bruce, and he's trying to manipulate a young girl called Rebecca. Here, wait for it, Rebecca McNider. It's considered that he's willing to prey on a little girl and possess another child to do it. So we can see that Eclipso knows no bounds. He doesn't care how old you are, how young you are. And it's really something which was first introduced in Eclipso. Remember, originally in 1963, in House of Secrets DC Comics, Eclipso was originally written as an average villain, but it was all retconned and changed in 1992's Darkness Within miniseries. Eclipso was reconned and later became more of an ancient demonic entity that could possess and corrupt others, feeding off their anger, hatred, and also the darkness within them. Now, as a spiritual entity, Eclipso is an immortal guy. So think of spirits in the Marvel universe like Dormammu, Trigon, to mention a few. And this means that he's immortal and he's nigh invincible. And with all of that, he's been known to defeat people like the Spectre. You guys know who the Spectre is in this universe. It's Oliver McQueen. Power to manipulate time and space. So Eclipso can also control other people's powers or enhance their abilities. I think we might see some of that from Cindy, from Shiv. So we have to kind of be a little bit patient with that build up, but we know that that's what they're coming to. I think for this, guys, it seems like because we saw Rebecca McNider, that Eclipso and Dr. Midnight have some history. I think there's a connection here because the little boy Bruce Gordon is one of the original possessors of Eclipso's diamond, and it's likely that Rebecca was Dr. Charles McNider's daughter. And not only was Dr. Midnight smart, but he was also a skilled detective who could find anybody, attain any information via his artificial intelligent goggles. So it's possible that he defeated Eclipso in another form. So I think that what we've seen by him striking at Rebecca was some kind of revenge or payoff for something that happened with Charles McNider. We also, guys, see, and this is really, I'm bringing this up for a reason, because we see Sylvester Pemberton, we see the original Starman again, and he's searching for Pat. So is this something where the original Starman died? We saw him, he died, and Courtney took up the mantle. But we know that Eclipso can shapeshift and take bodies, and they can possess bodies as well. So I'm just throwing it out there. Is it possible that this Sylvester Pemberton that we're seeing is just Eclipso shapeshifting into Starman's physical form, and he's somehow possessing his body in order to track down the JSA and find out Pat McDugan and all the other kids? So look, just remember that I've mentioned that because I think that we might see a payoff for that. I could be wrong, but it could be something that will pay off down the road. And guys, speaking of Dr. Charles McNider, Beth is struggling to fix her goggles and bring back Chuck. We also see it light up. She also discovers that the goggles has no memory of Chuck. So Chuck, she talks to it and she mentions Chuck, but it doesn't have any memory of her. So it seems like it's sufferings of some, damage or something like that to the goggles, and maybe we'll see that pay off down the road. But another thing with Beth, it's like she had all her friends in season 1. She had Chuck in season 1. Her parents, loved her, getting on well. Everything was gravy in season 1. And it all starts to be falling down around her. She's struggling to fix the goggles. And she also discovers that her parents are filing for divorce. And you can see it's just devastating to her. And we really feel that because she's one of the awesome characters that we like, that we kind of care about, because she's been this lonely girl with no friends, and we felt that it really hits the heartstrings to the viewers, and we want her to be able to have friends and good relationships. And what happened in episode 1 was just really heartbreaking for Beth. So let's see how that turns out as well. Yolanda, killing Brainwave is really affecting her, and we can see she's having that PTSD issues with her killing Brainwave. And even though that she revealed all of this to Courtney, and we find out that Yolanda's really struggling with it, and maybe that's something that Eclipso's going to take advantage of down the road. We don't know. He can attack the team in so many different ways, and I can't really wait to see how that works out. One other thing, guys, while driving back, we see Rick, and Rick hears reports about a bear breaking into local restaurants and realizing it's not a bear, but it's possibly Solomon Grundy. So he goes searching through the woods and discovers evidence like there's stolen food, there's beer and drinks that's been thrown in down, bottled drinks. And what we find out is that he then starts to visit that area, and he carries 3 buckets of chicken and just places them down. And after he leaves, you hear the giant footsteps walking. So I think that we're going to see something bond between those two as well. It's really good that they're taking these steps, because Solomon Grande, again, is not very smart, and he doesn't have any friends, and the ISA really used him and abused him. So if he can befriend Rick, I think that that is something that the show can really grow with at the moment. Courtney, at one point, goes to investigate what's going on and finds a young woman who's sneaking around in her house, and the two of them fight. There's trashing of the kitchen in the process, but the young woman has a Green Lantern ring and identifies her as the daughter of Green Lantern Alan Scott. So I think, for me, this is what I talked about last week, and I said that Jade doesn't need to have the Green Lantern to charge her ring, that she was actually born with the energy inside her. So I think for some reason, I'm not sure if this is what they're going to do with her, because the ring really can work within itself, and the lantern was pulsating before it connected with her, before it merged with her. So maybe she's the one that's powering the lantern itself. But I think we have to hold on and wait to see how that plays out and how this happens. Overall, guys, really good with the first episode. Really happy that it was not so much action, but it was more setup than anything. We hear that Sportsmaster and Tigress got captured and arrested. So that's something that wasn't confirmed previously before. So I think that that settles that. So we're now really ready to move on from those villains, and it's going to be the kids versus the kids in terms of ISA and JSA. It's kind of clear cut that we're going to get the Shade as a villain as well. So there's still going to be an element of what's going to happen with the adults and Pat Duggan and everything else. And speaking of Pat Duggan, Zeke was more than happy to help him in the process with keeping the shop tidy. He warned him about the room with the robot, with Stripey. He said, don't go in there, it's full of dirt, it's a mess, don't even do it. But the thing about mechanics is they're inquisitive, they like working on things, they like building things. And this guy is like, I think he's looking at it like, people have pet projects and they geek out with Gundam and Transformers and all of that. And so what if a man wants to play with his toys and build giant robots? It's not unheard of. There's plenty of people in the Star Wars Transformers universe that have actually built these things in real life. So if you walked in there, if you were Zeke and you walked into that room and you saw this big, massive 15-foot thing, it wouldn't go unnoticed that Pat Duggan is probably just a big fan of that genre. And he likes to build stuff. And the way he was saying, yeah, you can do this with the hand, you can put a flamethrower in there, don't worry, leave it to me. It's like he didn't even know what was going on, but the excitement of him just building and making more stuff up and joining Pat in his project to build this giant robot, it's realistic. People might be looking at it thinking, nah, that's a stupid thing, that'll never work. Why wasn't he surprised? Sorry, but in real life, I know people who have built a real cockpit of the Millennium Falcon in their back garden, in the shed. Like, they've all the ornaments, the windows, everything. They've gone out and done all of that. So it's not far-fetched to imagine that people are out there building giant robots. It really isn't. So overall, guys, really good episode, but it's mainly an episode that sets up, it's world building, it's team building, it's family building, and it sets up season 2 in a way that next week they can start to attack what's going on within the team, and we'll start to see a ruckus built up in the series. So 7.5 out of 10 for me, guys. Check it out, enjoy it, and remember, UK viewers, you are now 24 hours after the US viewers, so I will have to speed up my video content in order to compensate for that. Hope you guys are doing well. Subscribe to the channel. Remember, I was off for 7 months because of COVID, so now I'm back, and you're going to be getting Stargirl content on a weekly basis. So see you guys on to the next one. Peace out.